Oh! Oh, my TikTok started!
Uh-oh. Was it a good TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
Good to know.
It was a good TikTok. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Screen Weens 133, I think. That's Thomas, yeah. Mm-hmm. That is Thomas. I'm London. We're talking about Lord of the Rings today. But the animated ones.
Yes.
So you're a little early for the Peter Jackson ones. That'll be next week.
Mm-hmm. And if you're looking for the Peter Jackson's Hobbit, that'll be the week after.
Yeah.
But
and if you're looking for the Lord of the Rings show, you're about 6 months early.
Yeah, that one's going to be a while. But yeah. What have you been up to this week?
So last week, I was in a lot of pain on the podcast. I don't know if you could tell, but I was holding my chin a lot. I have a tooth that, like, half it's missing.
Oh.
It was bothering me a lot. So this whole week, I've just been in a ton of pain from that. And I was trying to get it pulled a couple days ago. But they're like, nope, too infected. So they gave me antibiotics to bring the swelling down. I'm going in a couple days on Thursday. So you got to make it towards that. But the antibiotics, they've been helping my tooth pain, but holy fuck. They were like, this is going to fuck up your stomach. And it's fucked up my stomach. And not to the point where I'm like throwing up and I'm not nauseous. It's just like my stomach is just constantly upset. I'm just like, this is annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Other than the pain, we watched a couple things. Let's see. Our Flag Means Death just started recently. It's a new show directed by Taika Waititi. It's about pirates. Rhys Darby is the main character of it.
Okay.
It's pretty fun. We only watched the first 2 episodes, but it's fun enough right now for like just something to watch. Mm-hmm. We finished Infinity Train. I don't know if I talked about that last week or not.
I don't remember.
But yeah, we finished Infinity Train. That was pretty good. I think the last season's a little weak, but overall, it's a fun time. I watched 2 Lupin movies.
Ooh.
I watched Prison of the Past, which was I thought it was great. It's about a prison of the past. And then I watched one called Goodbye Partner, which both of these are newer. They're from like 2019. And I know some Lupin fans aren't a fan of like the more sleek look to Lupin, and I get it, but I liked both of them. This one had a lot of piano playing, and every time they cut to piano playing, it was weird CG fingers. So I didn't care for that, and I think the pacing on that one's a little off. But overall, I liked that one as well. So I was just like riding high. I'm like, Lupin, yeah, yeah. And then we watched The Descent. And that was my first time watching it all the way through. I like knew what happened in it because it was like a movie that's talked about a lot. Yeah. It was decent. Yeah. I think that the Deep House, you know the Deep House. Mm-hmm. That one fails because it's not just like, oh, claustrophobia, you're running out of air. And I think that The Descent also has the same issue. I think the creatures in The Descent are like cool enough and they're kind of creepy and their stuff. And there's some good scares. But I think the most tense parts are them just crawling through tight spaces. And later on, that's like, let's just forget about that. Let's have them fight weird mole vampire people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So overall, I still think it's like pretty fun, but
yeah, it's a decent one.
And then Hinata, you walked in on Hinata watching Turning Red for the 3rd time. Mm-hmm. I've seen the movie once. I think Pixar's pretty consistent. Pixar is good. Pixar makes good movies. I liked it.
I haven't watched anything they've made. I guess I watched Finding Dory with you guys.
Okay, so Pixar sometimes it's some hiccups in the road. I don't think Finding Dory is very good, but
no, I didn't either.
Original properties.
Yeah, because I think the last like Pixar movie I had seen before that would have been probably like Up or something.
You don't watch Because you didn't watch Luca, right?
Mm-mm. No,
Thomas just isn't. He's just not a fan of.
Not a fan of Disney.
Not a fan of animated movies. Just Luca. Before that, you didn't watch Soul or Onward, right?
Mm-mm.
Watch Toy Story 4?
No.
Coco?
No.
We were watching it that one day and you weren't there. You didn't watch Cars 3, I'm assuming.
No.
So yeah, I think the last one was Finding Dory. Did you watch Inside Out?
No.
Wow.
Yes. No,
And I'm almost certain you didn't see The Good Dinosaur.
Absolutely not.
What about Brave?
No, I didn't see Brave.
What about Monsters University?
No, I didn't watch that one.
What about Cars 2?
No, I never bothered.
Toy Story 3?
Yeah, I've seen Toy Story 3.
Jesus.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't watched, like...
Yeah, so it was Up, Toy Story 3, and then jump all the way to Finding Dory.
Yeah.
You watched WALL-E, right?
Yeah, I've seen WALL-E.
So about
like
that
WALL-E.
time, so probably you've seen most of the catalog from, like, then and back, probably?
No, I've seen, like, all of, like, the original... Like, basically everything up until Toy Story 3 I have seen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You just dropped off. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like Pixar. They're fun.
I can see why people like it. I'm sure if I watched most of their, like, modern films, I'd probably, like, enjoy most of them enough. I don't know. It's not something I'm really, like, dying to catch up on.
I get it. And yeah, that's what I've been up to. Yep. Just because, I was in pain, so I'm like, I don't really want to watch a movie right now because I'm not going to pay attention to it.
Yeah. I watched.
Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 started. And we are almost through all of it. Because I think what they're doing is they're doing a split season again. So they release 11 episodes and then they release another 11. Or maybe it's 10 and 10, I can't remember. But we watched like 9 of them. That show's good. I love Power Rangers. Okay, what brought up?
I watched half of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And then the movies we watched this week. And then...
Okay.
I've been playing more Demon Souls. I'm probably approximately halfway through it. Yeah. I'm stuck on one boss that's pissing me off. So this morning I thought I'd take a break and try The Last of Us, the first one, because I've never played it. And it's okay. I also got stuck on one part that made me just go, you know what? I don't know. I'm done with video games this morning. So, yeah. I'm stuck in a part where I'm trying to go through a hospital where it's like a sideways building, but there's a room that's got a bunch of fucking Zambos in it. And
bonies.
You gotta stealth your way through it. And I'm trying, but it's real fucking hard to do, apparently. So, yes. That's my week.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Let's just jump into some questions real quick. We got questions.
Pierre back at it again.
I don't think anyone else, but maybe?
Possibly.
No, of course not. All right. What was the hardest wipeout you have seen in cinema, and did they have it coming?
Define wipeout.
Like obliteration, like they're dead.
Oh, okay.
They're wiped. Yeah.
The hardest death I've seen in cinema. Probably the scene from World War Z where it's the guy and he's running and then he slips and shoots himself in the head. That's the one that first came to mind. I'm sure I've probably seen harder deaths that make me go ooh, more.
This has happened in other movies, but I remember as a kid watching Temple of Doom, the guy gets his belt or whatever stuck in the grinder or whatever, and gets sucked in. And I'm oh! Because it doesn't really show; it just shows the blood afterwards. But
the concept,
yeah, it's holy fuck, and something that happens in I think Raiders as well with a plane propeller.
Oh, yeah, he's fighting that big guy.
Yeah, and he pushes him in. I feel like those kinds of deaths are always like, oh, that could happen to me.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are like pretty hard wipeouts for me. If like, or like you could look at on the other side of things where, you know, like they're just, they're completely gone. Like anytime the Death Star fires on someone, like in Rogue One, when they're just like, oh, we're about to die.
Yeah.
It's especially satisfying watching Krennic die in that. Because he's like, he was the one in charge of the Death Star plan. And he's like, well, that's my weapon about to obliterate me. So I'd say maybe that. Or you could go with something like horrifying, like that of Martyrs.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Martyrs. Jump ahead 20 seconds if you don't care. Or if you care. But a woman has her skin just completely all peeled off and she's put in front of a heat lamp until she sees the end and then she dies. So like that's a pretty horrific wipeout, I would say.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. All right. Question 2. What is the most toxic relationship in media? Is it Fred and Shaggy? No. They're friends. Toxic relationships in media.
Well, I mean, there's lots of them.
Yeah.
I just watched fucking... One of the things I did this week, I didn't include it, but I guess I could have, was while I was playing Demon Souls, I had on Quentin Review's fucking End of Victorious video. He was talking about Jade and Beck. Yeah, that seems pretty toxic.
Yeah, but in like a sexy way.
I don't know. They just kind of like yell at each other all the time.
That's fun. That's cool. It's neat. Drake and Josh.
That was pretty toxic. Let's see. Sam and Freddie.
Yeah. Any Nickelodeon show, apparently.
Yes. Particularly the ones that were made by Dan Schneider. But let's see. I mean, there's like the obvious choices. You could go with something like Scenes from a Marriage. That's pretty toxic. I wouldn't say it's like the most toxic.
Yeah,
it's a very toxic relationship.
Maybe Antichrist.
Yeah, Antichrist is pretty toxic. If you want to get to a more grounded, less like psychopathic level, you go to like Losing Ground or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty much any. I don't know. I watched so many movies about toxic relationships.
I'm just like, those are just regular. They're just people.
Yeah, it's hard to like pick like one that's particularly worse than the others. I mean, I'm sure there are examples. Like, obviously, like, Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse.
They're in love.
Yeah, but it's a toxic love.
Yeah. Kind of like us.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. I think those are good answers. Obviously, Sheev and Anakin.
Oh, yeah. Not great.
Incredibly toxic. In like the definition of he's literally just turning Anakin to the dark side.
Yeah. But, you know, this is destiny.
If you had to make a horror movie about a fast food mascot, who would it be? I think Ronald McDonald's the too easy answer here. Like, he's already horrifying.
Mm-hmm. And so is the King. He's another one.
I think the Jack in the Box Man. His cold expression.
Yeah.
That cold smile that's always over his face. I think the Wendy's woman.
She's got maybe. Annabelle vibes.
Colonel Sanders. He could have just been the main. He could have been the dad and Get Out. He could have.
Honestly, you're just better off doing like just like a big horror like Expandables, where it's like, is it Expandables or Expendables? What's the name of that?
Expendables.
Like, Expendables. That like a horror franchise version of that with just all the fast food mascots.
And they're all going up against Papa John.
Yeah, he's there with his sody pop.
I would want a horror, like, something to do with like ghosts. What horror mascot or what fast food mascot reminds me of ghosts the most? Like Papa John's kind of looks like a ghost right now.
Colonel Sanders kind of. He's got like that
yeah. Well, they just like, I'm sure so many Colonel Sanders actors are dead now.
Let's see here.
That's it. We could make it's about a curse. The Colonel Sanders is chosen. He's cursed.
I see. Yeah, there's like, will you be the Colonel Sanders or just another one for the wayside?
And if you choose to be Colonel Sanders, the previous one just immediately turns to bones right there.
Oh, there we go. But yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions, Pierre. Those were pretty epic. Pretty epic questions. Speaking of epic, let's talk about Rankin and Bass. Never thought I was going to fucking say that again.
Maybe the last time?
Until Christmas, where I pick more Christmas movies.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So, Rankin and Bass was most notably known for doing like a lot of the Christmas specials, like Little Drummer Boy, Frosty the Snowman, stuff like that. Rudolph. But they also made Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit from 1977, and then Return of the King from 1980. I think two of the movies we're going to be watching today.
Didn't they also produce The Lord of the Rings? It was just they weren't like...
The back to one? No.
No?
No. As far as I know, because like that was another thing too, because like Ralph Bakshi like really fucking wanted to make a Lord of the Rings movie, and it took him a while too, because they were other people were trying to make that Hobbit movie, and they're like, well, we don't want two different companies doing it. Mm-hmm. He got the because I think Rankin and Bass got the distribution rights to like Canada or something. Like it was a whole mess. There's a Folding Ideas video about Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. It's like an hour long. Mm-hmm. It's really good if anyone wants more information on that, because the production on that movie was wild, and Ralph Bakshi's movies in general are fucking wild the way he made them. But let me double check real quick. Ralph Bakshi, Lord of the Rings. I'm going to double check just to make sure. Yeah, it does not look like it was produced by them.
Okay.
But first, let's talk about The Hobbit. So I hadn't seen any of these animated movies. I know a lot of people grew up on them or had them on VHS or something. I hadn't seen any of them. Had you seen any of these? All of them? Okay. So I was going in pretty blind. Besides, I'd seen the Ralph Bakshi, but that was more about talking about behind the scenes stuff, and so. But yeah, I hadn't seen this Hobbit movie. I'd seen the Martin Freeman ones, and I'd played the PS2 game.
Ooh.
Which was okay. I don't know.
I've not heard good things, and it looks atrocious, but I haven't played it myself, so I can't go.
I played 3 hours of it. It was fine.
I see.
I had to run around and find some children hiding, and then I had to platform around the trolls. Remember? That was about all I remember of the game. We should play it for the podcast. And I haven't read the books. Look at me. I'm a fucking weirdo.
How dare you?
But I think this movie's fine. If The Hobbit. It's about The Hobbit. He goes on a quest with some dwarves and Gandalf to go to the mountain where Smaug is. And Smaug has a bunch of gold that they want because it's their ancestral homeland. And then he escapes, and the people of the port town kill him. Yeah. And then 5 armies come, and the battle happens. It takes 6 minutes. And Peter Jackson made it take 2.5 hours. Yeah. Well, the Warner Brothers or whatever made Peter Jackson make it that long.
Yeah. But yeah, so... Yeah, I think this movie's fine. I think it does a pretty good job at, abridging the events of the book into a 1-hour TV special.
Yeah, I think both... I think all of them, they're just fucking running for the end. So I feel like they, you know, for an hour and 17 minutes, I guess they do hit most of the plot points, but it's so just a mad dash throughout the whole thing. It's like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Let me rest.
But yeah, no, I think it's a generally pretty decent one. I like the music. It's fucking stupid, but I like it. It's like, they parody it on South Park. There's like a whole arc where there's a gerbil up someone's ass, and it's like, oh, lemming winks. But like, it's like over the same tune and everything.
They do like they do like one song they play like 8 times in this movie.
Yeah, it's that song.
And I'm just like, holy fuck! Please play a different song.
Yeah. It like...
I felt like I was going insane, but
there's some other good ones, like the ones that they adapt from the book, like the, you know, bend the forks and wash the plates, that's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
That one's done pretty well. They got like the Goblin song, that one's pretty good. But yeah, fucking... I think it's a decent little adaptation.
Yeah, and, you know, like, for not reading the books, I'm like, this is fine. My issue with all of these movies, every time I was watching them, I was just like, I cannot wait to watch Lord of the Rings. That's just all I was. I'm like, I see a scene that I recognize, I'm like, I can't wait to watch that. Just in a better movie.
Yeah.
So, these movies did something for me in the sense that they made me more excited to watch Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson trilogy. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't much care for Smeagol's design in this. He looks like he's just weird.
I see where people come from, because he doesn't really look like he was ever human at any point, but...
He's like a frog?
Yeah, but I really just like the design by itself. I think it effectively makes that scene kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, the most surprising thing is that specific scene is pretty relatively, like, well done. And much creepier than I thought, like, Rankin and Bass productions were able to get.
Yeah.
I think that the voice acting for this movie is a little rough. I think some of it's pretty good. I think, like, Gollum's fine. I think Gandalf's fine. And I think Bilbo's okay, but, like, everyone else is just like, they're fine, or they're, like, noticeably, like, just a random guy, or it sounds like just a random guy. And, you know, I get the Smeagol one. It's fine. I like parts of it. I do wish he at least somewhat resembled a human at one point, I guess. Yeah. Because I was like, that's a frog.
Well, he wasn't a human. He was a hobbit.
Yeah, so. You're right. So throw my complaints out the window, actually.
Yeah, it's not like hobbits are like the closest thing in Middle Earth.
It's not like they say that at the end of the fucking Return of the King movie that these people made too. No. It's so funny because going from the Martin Freeman movies to watching this, I'm like, why are all the dwarves old and not sexy?
No.
Because Thor and Oakenshield's like really hot in the live action Hobbit.
Then they go out of their way to make the rest of them look like just like typical, like stereotypical, like fantasy dwarves.
Yeah. There's like, I think the first two they introduced just look like old men, and then the rest just look like regular dwarves.
Gandalf. Mini Aragorn.
Yeah. I like, in the animated version, Gandalf, I like how, like, kind of gaunt and, like, he's, like, really... He has a lot of edges. He's really edgy, his character's like.
I kind of like the decision. It looks like they would have, like, based him off, like, a Native American actor or something, and I liked that.
Yeah. Overall, I like Gandalf's design. I'm not, you know, the character designs overall, I'm like, they're fine, or they're cool. They're kind of all over the place. I think, in general... A lot of the design choices and music choices and, like, pacing choices are just kind of all over the place for me.
Yeah.
And it's probably just because it's like, we need to make this really quickly. Because
really cheaply.
Really cheaply. We're going to... I think all of it was animated in Japan still. Because a lot of the Rankin and Bass stuff were just animated in Japan. Like, I'm pretty sure... like a bunch of there was one, I was reading an article, I can't remember what it was, but there was a Rankin and Bass movie. I was like, did you know that this is secretly a Studio Ghibli movie? Just because it was like, before it was technically Studio Ghibli, it was outsourced to them, so they animated it.
Oh, really?
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick.
Huh. Yeah, no, I never had heard that before, but that's pretty interesting. But yes, well, he looks that up. Yeah, no, I think it does a pretty good job at capturing kind of like the whimsy and more fun nature of like The Hobbit. And yeah, it's kind of all over the place. It's kind of a mess, but it's kind of a fun mess. I don't know. I think check it out. It's an hour long. You don't really have a whole lot to lose with it, but yeah. I think you'll be able to tell pretty quickly if this movie would be up your alley or not within like the first 5 minutes. But if you like some of those old Rankin and Bass movies and you like Lord of the Rings, you'd probably like this. But yes, I think that you would give this movie.
No, I'm not done.
Okay, you're gonna talk about Japan.
I think it might have been Frosty the Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman?
I think so. Or if, did Rankin and Bass do The Last Unicorn adaptation?
I don't know.
Okay. Because it might also have been them. I promise I'm not lying. Or am I? What? Is London yeah, they did. So, it might have been him.
Okay. Huh.
There was one thing I wanted to notate, and now I cannot remember.
Was it Elrond's design with all the stars around his head?
No, did you like that?
I thought it was better than his design in the Bakshi version.
Yeah. I don't know what I was going to say. Okay, I guess I am done talking.
Woo!
Thomas, what do you think I was going to give it?
I think that you would give it like a 4.
I think I'm at a 5.
Yeah.
I think you're at a 5, maybe?
Yeah, I'd probably say a 5. A decent little 5.
Let's talk about the most wild of the three. Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, coming out in 1978. Clocking in about, I think it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Covers Lord of the Rings and Two Towers.
Yes.
And I don't know, probably, maybe a little portion of Return of the King, because they like finish some of the fight there. It's so weird because they're like, this ends the movie. They like were pretty sure they weren't going to be able to make another one, but Ralph Bakshi did start writing a script for another one, but there just doesn't seem like enough material there, at least in the pacing, like the pacing wise, the way that he made this one. I'm like, if you made it the same way, you'd have like 25 minutes of content there.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one opens up. I actually really enjoy the opening sequence because they kind of like, it's just like a stage production of like some of like the past events leading up to Lord of the Rings, showing like how the rings were made and basically kind of Sauron's backstory. And it's all just done against this like red backdrop and it's like, shadowy silhouettes. I really liked that. I thought that was like a super fun, creative way to like do that. And you would never get that out of like anything today. Typically not. But yeah. And then we get into the actual like Lord of the Rings stuff where it's just kind of a brisk adaptation of the first two movies, or the first two books, where it's just like, Bilbo's having his going away party, then Frodo gets the ring, and then Gandalf's like, you gotta go. Oh, fuck, Samwise was listening. You're going to...
What? Ralph Bakshi must fucking hate Samwise, because he's so fucking ugly in this movie.
Yeah, he's ugly, and they make him pretty dumb.
Yeah. Which is so funny, because, I don't think it's a controversial opinion, but I think that Samwise is, like, the best Lord of the Rings character in the movies. Like, or at least one of them.
Anybody would ever agree with that statement. I think that's just objectively wrong.
Like, Maybe it's just because Sean Astin's so good in that role.
No,
but
yeah.
Holy fuck.
I think anyone who's ever like watched the movies or read the books will unanimously agree that Samwise is the best character.
Or at least top tier. You know? He's just so good. But Ralph Bakri's like, no, make him a fucking idiot. And ugly. They're like, you okay, Ralph? And he's like, no, give me heroin or whatever.
Yeah, I've been rotoscoping too much.
So, yeah, this movie has a lot of different animation techniques. A lot of it is rotoscoped. A lot of it is just, he did a lot of different things. A lot of it is also just, hey, we filmed this in live action. And we put a film gradient over it. Or we just kind of fucked up the film. And we're like, oh, but it's animated now. Which, like, I don't disagree with any of these techniques. I think some of it could be used in unique ways. But some of it just looks really fucking bad.
It'd be one thing if it was a little more consistent. But
I think that there's no consistency in what he wants to do. Some of it works in transitions, but it's completely on accident the way it works. For the most part, it just looks really bad at times, and then some of it looks nice. I like the Bilbo's like going away dinner and all the people in the back eating like that. That's fun. I like in general most of the hand drawn stuff and even most of the rotoscope stuff looks good or decent at least. But like anytime it's just obviously real people in suits and like just like slapped a color gradient over it or something, it's like that. Looks kind of rough, especially in the backgrounds because it'll just be like an endless void. Like some scenes have really, really nice backgrounds. Any action scene, it's just dust. It's just nothing. So it's a little disappointing. And yeah, it just makes the whole situation like anytime the animation shifts, it's just really jarring. Yeah,
no, certainly, and. There's definitely some times when it's effective, like the Reen Wraiths, I think, look pretty alright with the just like kind of plain filter. But then like they'll do the same thing with like just
the regular guys at Helm's Deep.
Yeah, it's just like doesn't look very good. Golem's design in this, I'm pretty sure, probably like directly inspired the fucking like Lord of the Rings movies. Because this is pretty close to his design from the just Peter Jackson trilogy. But yeah, basically they take the ring to fucking, I forget the name of the fucking place. Rivendell, yeah. And the fucking fellowship bands together, then they fucking get split apart after Boromir fucking scares away Frodo. And Samwise follows him. And then Pippin and Merry gets kidnapped and Boromir dies, and then Aragorn and Legolas are like, alright, well, off to Helm's Deep. Yeah. And it just kind of ends there. They're getting like Sam and Frodo get guided by Gollum a little bit.
And then they win the Battle of Helm's Deep, and they won! And so ends the adventure of Lord of the Rings. It's like,
Yeah.
It's just a little messy. One thing I don't know if you noticed, and I learned this, they jump between what they call Saruman. They call him Saruman, they call him Aruman. And that's specifically because in the first, I think, like, draft of the script, the producers were like, they're going to get Sauron and Saruman mixed up. Which, I mean, people do, but... so they were like, just call him Aruman. But then later on, like, I think the producers changed it. They didn't care, so they just went with Saruman, but they didn't change any of the previously recorded dialogue. So they're just... And obviously, films aren't made just from like, oh, this is the first scene, second scene, third scene. It's all over the place. So just throughout, it's like, Aruman, and the next scene, Saruman. It's like, Saruman. It's just on and on.
Damn. Yeah.
What did you think of the Balrog in this movie?
Not great, but you know, it's trying. It's trying. And then you got the almost iconic line. Fucking, what does he say in this? It's like...
Fly, go.
Oh, no.
Run away.
Not that part.
Oh, you cannot go, or something like that.
It's just like...
That's so funny because there are so many lines in this, and I'm like, it's such a palpable thing in like the live action movies. I'm like, yes, like the scene in Rivendell when they're all arguing over like who's going to take the ring, and there's such like a great music cue in the live action version, and like Frodo's like, I will take it, and no one hears him, and then he like says it louder, and Gandalf hears him first, and you can like see the kind of sorrow like go on his face, like, oh, I'm making this poor boy go forward more. Mm-hmm. And then in this one it's just like, I'll take it. It's like, cool. It's great. It's like, oh, sweet, okay. And have your fucking ugly friend go with you. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, and that's just, like, for like a animated movie, it's fine, but like, you still have heartfelt moments in animated movies, and I just feel like Ralph Bakshi just couldn't put those pieces together. I see what he wants to do with these things, but it's just like, producers change over, scripts change over. He doesn't know how to make a consistent voice in his own animation at this point in his career, in my opinion. So it's just like, it just feels so incohesive and not satisfying. Like, none of those scenes are satisfying. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, I don't think the movie's without like some good parts. I think, John Hurt voices Aragorn. I think he's incredible as Aragorn. I think he's really, really good as Aragorn. And I don't mind the voice for, like, Legolas either, and, like, Gandalf. Like, a lot of the, like, more adult characters I'm good with. Mm-hmm. I don't really like a lot of the Hobbits' voices. They just, I don't know, kind of sound like caricatures of themselves.
Yeah. Frodo, Pippin, and Merry all look very similar.
Yeah, that's true. It's the same issue with like character design. I'm not a fan of most of the character design. I kind of like Aragorn's look in this. And I think Legolas is fine, I guess. It's just like he doesn't really look like an elf though. It just looks like a god. It just looks like me. Yeah. Like I wandered out. I'm like, hey guys. And I think Gandalf's fine, I guess, but
yeah, it works.
Yeah. It's just a bit disappointing.
Yeah, honestly, for consistency's sake, I wish that just Rankin and Bass had gotten and made like 2-hour-long ones for each book. Probably would have turned it out just a smidge better, in my opinion. Yeah. Maybe just a smidge, not a whole lot. But this one's just a lot messier than the last one was.
And it's like, at the very least, I can appreciate some of the things it does for it, because it does, like, I think try harder. I just think it fails harder because of that. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Ralph Bakshi had more of a vision than just like, let's throw together something cheap and quick real quick.
Yeah.
But, and because of that, the budget probably was just astronomical in comparison, because, like, there are times that rotoscoping, you're filming the scene and then you're drawing over it. Mm-hmm. And then, so a lot of this, they talk about it in Folding Ideas video, and he talks about how, like, there's like 70% of just a live action movie in there because of how much they would have filmed. Mm-hmm.
So. And then they just have to draw.
And then they have to draw. So they're doing double the work. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, and I just, Ralph Bakshi just might not be the director for me, because I get what he's going for, but I watched, was it Fire and Ice? I thought that movie was garbage. Mm. And I think this movie was better than that, but I gotta watch something that I'm intrigued with him, because I'm just like, Bakshi, I get what you're going for, but I just don't, it's just not connecting. It's just not, you're not hitting that goalpost. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Yeah. I think you would give this one a 4.
Yeah. I think you're probably in the same boat.
I am also in the same boat. Return of the King.
Frodo and Sam.
They were in the boat. Return of the King, 1980. Back to Jules Bass and Frank Rankin.
Where there's a way.
There's a way. Where's a way. There's a way. I think this one's worse than the Hobbit one.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I do not like the central like storytelling element that they do, where it's like
the framing device.
Yeah, where Bilbo's just like, "Hey, you lost my fucking ring, you stupid idiot." That's not what he sounds like, but
where's your fucking finger? The whole
I can't believe you lost your ring and your finger. Come on, man.
Four finger Frodo, or whatever the song is.
Yeah, I don't like the music in this one.
Yeah.
The whip, there's a way is a fun little catchy. There's a whip, there's a whip. But the other ones, I'm just like I'm just like, just bring back the super repetitive one from The Hobbit, because the other ones, I'm just like, these are not vibing, these are not connecting.
But yeah, basically, Sam's got to break Frodo out of prison, and then he's got the ring and such, and then uses that to his advantage. But all the orcs are like fleeing. They're just like, no. And then,
oh God, no!
Yeah, basically, he gets Frodo out, and he's like, cool. And then Frodo's, fucking jonesing for the ring. So he gives him the ring back, and then they're both fucking just absolutely dehydrated and on the verge of death because they don't have any water, and they're up on, the path to Mountain Doom. So then they, basically, they're wearing, a bunch of goblin armor, and this, legion of goblins comes along, and they're like, "Hey, get back to work!" And that's where we get the fucking badass "Whip Days Away" song. And then, they basically just convince those goblins to get into a fight, because they're just like, "No, we've got orders to go back." And he's like, "Well, that just doesn't seem very manly."
Well, because it's just they're just intersecting, and the humans are like, "No, we go first. Humans go first." And he's like, "You're gonna let him talk to you like that? You're gonna let him treat you like a little bitch?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you're right." So they get into a fight and they run off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then they go up and they eventually
do the ring thing.
Frodo is about to drop the ring in, and he's like, "Nope!" And then Gollum bites off his finger and then falls in. And, Middle Earth is saved.
Yeah. We get a lot of the character designs are, again, just fine. The Golem is back with being weirdo Golem. And I don't know.
They go back to the original
but
designs.
At least he's a little different in this one, I think. I don't know. Maybe he just is supposed to look older, or maybe it's just
maybe.
I don't know. But he's fine.
Gandalf.
I like the Gandalf one, but everyone else is like, it's fine. It's fine. It's weird because this movie just doesn't really fit in a way that it works as its own film, because it's obvious it's a bookend of this long sprawling story. So if you look at it as its own story, its framework is atrocious. And if you look at it as a sequel to Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, it's completely different in tone and character design and execution and animation style. So it's I don't think it's terrible, but it's just it's so weird going into it. It's what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, they're definitely trying to do a lot of patchwork for not having their own just kind of middle entries that tell the beginning of that story.
And it's so weird because, if you're going to do that and you want it to be a pseudo-sequel to this one so you can profit off that one, then you need to have the characters act like those. But Samwise is completely different. Frodo's pretty different. Everyone just kind of acts differently. And it's just what are you doing? Why?
Yeah. No, it definitely just feels like a completely different interpretation of the characters, which would have been well and fine, but the fact that it just happens, for the last third of the story, it's just And,
if it was a little longer, this one's an hour and 40 minutes, so it is a little bit longer, but they still don't, if it was longer, I guess, they could have put more detail into, redefining these characters, but they don't. They just kind of, you're dropped in. And even honestly, even just dropping straight in the story, I think would have been better than like this lead up with talking to Bilbo and reading and stuff like that, because I don't think that does anything. You're not gonna, if you're going into this blind, I honestly think that might be more confusing for someone to be like, what? Who is this guy? What? Finger bit off?
Yeah.
Now there's a guy singing?
What? That's not something to sing about. But, yeah, you know, I guess they just were like, we need to finish it.
We need to make money.
We're not giving it back to Bakshi, so fucking give it back to Rankin and Bass. And yeah, I guess it worked well enough that sure they made scraps and profit or whatever. Yeah. And the franchise, aside from the books, lied dead for like 20 years. And then
80, so did it come out in 2002, Lord of the Rings?
I think 2001.
Yeah, I think that 20 years was last year. Oh, that's...
Yep.
Yeah.
How much... That's weird. As much time has passed since...
Oh, God, no! Holy fuck, no! Holy shit, no!
But it's the truth.
Oh,
no! As much time has passed for us since that Lord of the Rings is the time that would have passed for people.
From the... Jesus Christ.
Yep. Well, not since the... Not like
since
the
Return
Hobbit,
of the King.
Since Return of the King had finished.
Yeah. When did the Return of the King was 2003, so yeah, that was 19 years ago. And now we're getting the Lord of the Rings show this year, but because I just keep forgetting the Hobbit exists.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, movies. Actually, I don't think the first movie's that bad. At least from what I remember.
The first movie's decent. It's clearly the one that had the most. Like stuff. Everything figured out and could stick close to the book without like worrying about like I'd even go as far to say the second movie is okay from what I remember.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe we'll think they're incredible.
I don't think so, but we can hope.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you'd give this one a 4 as well.
Yeah. I think you'd probably give this one like a 3.
No, I'm still at a 4, I think.
Okay.
It's just mostly just weird, you know? It's just like, why does this exist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you know, they wanted to give people an adaptation of Lord of the Rings.
It's like, what if just the Voyage of the Dawn Treader came out, and then just another random studio made a different, like, they adapted the 4th story or whatever. And there's like, and now it's animated, and the characters are completely different. And yeah, actually that might work more, because I think at that point, most of the original kids were replaced, so
like if you had like Harry Potter like 1 and 2 and then Prisoner of Azkaban like just had like a different director and a different group of kids, and
it did have a different director,
but a different group of kids.
And I'm like, that's why it was the best one too, because it had a good director.
Mm-hmm. But then it's like they do that for 2 films and then they go back to like Daniel Radcliffe and like the continuity doesn't quite line up, and it's just kind of like. But that's Harry Potter for you, you know?
Yeah. So, next week, we will be covering Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy from 2001, 2, and 3, respectively. I'm going to be watching the extended editions, because that's just what I watch when I watch Lord of the Rings.
That's what I own, so I'll probably be watching those as well.
I was like, you want to watch them with me? And she's like, of course. I'm like, okay. Just remember, they're like 3.5 hours each, and the last one's like 4 hours and like 10 minutes. She's like, oh.
Yes.
But I fucking love those movies. Just get ready for 310s for me, just so everyone knows. Like,
okay.
I'm just telling you now, it's what they are. Hobbit movies, those aren't gonna get anywhere near close to that. But Lord of the Rings, don't even just write me down 310s. That's what I'm giving them, because that's what I give them every time. They're like, I'm so excited. Like, that is my favorite trilogy of all time. Like, I think that's the most, from everything I've seen at least. Like, I think that's the most consistent movie trilogy I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's probably. Yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
Besides the Terminator.
I'm hoping Dune comes along and kind of like
God, that
gives it some good, healthy competition. Because with like Dune Part 2, and then assuming he adapts,
is that the same? Or is Children?
No,
Children of Dune?
Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor Dune, and then I think it's like Chapter House, and I forget what the last one is. But
and I can't wait for the Batman trilogy.
I've still yet to see it.
You don't watch new movies anymore. You don't watch movies anymore, actually. Which is fine. Often. You're a gamer now.
I'm a sick, epic gamer.
All right, well, tune in next time for our Smasher Pass Lord of the Rings edition. They're all smashes. Especially the ring race.